In today's video for Slider Revolution 6, I'm going to take you through and show you how you can take advantage of the great looking templates that ship with the full version. Now this is the most important part, it does have to be the full version. So if you got your Slider Revolution 6 as part of a theme, you probably won't have access to these extra tools and features. So you need to make sure you purchase a license to get access to those things. Well, my name is Paul C. This is WP Tuts, the channel where I help you get more from WordPress. If you enjoy what we do around here, please consider smashing that subscribe button and hitting the bell icon to be notified every time we add new content. Okay, so first of all, this is a sponsored video. Those lovely people over at Slider Revolution reached out to me and asked me would I create a series of videos to show you how to use their plugin and how to get the most from it. This is one of those videos. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to hop over now into the dashboard of WordPress, open up Slider Revolution 6 and take a look at how we can download these different templates and start using those as the basis of our own creations. So once you jump into Slider Revolution, this is what you're going to see. We have various different options across the top for modules, updates, activation, and so on. Then we can do various different things like new blank modules. What we're interested in this video is new module from template. So we're going to click and open that up, and that's going to show us all the templates that we have available. On the left hand side, we can easily come in and fine tune and refine exactly what we're looking for. We can favorite different items by simply checking the little star next to it. Once we've done that, we can come to the favorites at the top, click on there, and that'll show us just the ones that we favorited. So it's a quick way of being able to organize things that you want to use as a good starting point. You can sort by creation. So this gives you sort by creation, creation ascending, sort by title, and so on. So we say creation ascending. You'll see that now goes and puts this into alphabetical order for us. So a quick and easy way of working. We can refresh that just to put it back to what it was originally. And we can update list if we haven't updated in a while and we want to make sure that we've got the most up-to-date version of all the different templates that are on offer. So let's just take a look on the left hand side. Let's take a look at some of the modules. As you can see, if we take a look at the bottom, there are a lot of different options. We have 16 pages showing 12 at a time. So there are a lot of different starting points we can use pulling from these templates. And that's the beauty of these is if you don't have that time, effort or inclination to start from scratch, you should be able to find something that's close to what you want or at least inspire you to create something you may not have thought of using these as the basis. So as you see on the left hand side, we can break things down into sliders. So we'll just see what you would consider a typical slider on a site. We can choose the carousel option if we want to have that, if we want to show multiple pieces of information. We have the hero as an option, so if we want to have that nice hero image at the top that does certain things like launching soon, under construction and so on, right the way down to choosing pretty much an entire website. So if you want to get really creative, you can do. We've got special effects in here as well. Post-based, and once we find something we think is a good starting point, we can simply come over and we can either take a look at it to preview it, or we can add it into our copy of Slider Revolution. So let's preview this one, this Traveler Council, or Carousel I should say, sorry. We can open that up and you can see we now have a great looking carousel which we can navigate through. We've got multiple different layers on here. We've got parallax effects. So this is a good starting point. And you could use this then for pretty much anything because you can change every aspect of this particular slider. And then you can replace the backgrounds, the text, the button, the overlaid image of the individual. All those kinds of things can be done directly inside these templates. So we'll close that down, come back out and take a look back in here. And we've got basic ones. So if you just want something really simple, then you can just use these as the basis. Things like a YouTube gallery and so on. So let's just start off with something nice and clean and simple. Let's come back over to all and let's find something that I think is going to work well for what I want to demonstrate in today's video. So let's just scroll through until we find something that we actually like. Okay, so let's take this hero one. So let's take a look at it quickly. And you can see this is the kind of thing we do. Let's just close these down so we can see exactly what we have. So it's a very simple effect where it's a multi-layered parallax effect. Now we can use this, like I say, as a starting point. So let's close that down and let's just say we're going to choose this one. So click on the plus and you can see it now comes through and says, these are the things you're going to have in place. You want to make sure that you've got those and so on. So we're going to say install template. So we now have our starting point ready for us to open up and take a look at. We can, as always, click on the little down arrow and we can do all the different things we need. So we can grab the HTML code, we can duplicate this if we want to use it as a starting point, and then maybe make a couple of different versions of this. We could do that all from inside here. For this example, we're going to keep this pretty straightforward. I'm simply going to come in and click on edit. Once we do that, that's going to load the Slider Revolution 6 editor in, and everything you should be used to when you started working with this is all going to be in place. Now, if you're new to Slider Revolution 6, and this is all kind of just a little bit overwhelming and you don't really know what's going on, I'd recommend taking a look at the other 2 videos I've done in this 6-part series, which will take you through the basics and creating your first slider, just to get you up to speed with how these different aspects work. Then you can come back to this and take a look. So check out the link in the description below if you want to find out a little more about how to use Slider Revolution 6. But for a quick recap, this is the preview area where we can see exactly what our slide is going to look like. Then we have the timeline underneath that allows us to position exactly what elements and where inside the actual design. So if you want to have things come on at a certain point in the playback, you can do things like that. Over on the right hand side, we have all the modules that we can work with. So things like the layout, the title, the content, and so on. And at the top, we've got all the different options to do with resizing, adding layers, coming back up, go into the different slides. We also have things like selections, the different types of devices you want to display on, a whole range of useful things. The beauty of using these templates is all of this is done for us, and we can just use this now to tweak if we want to. So if we take a look at the image and take a look at the timeline, if we scroll down, you can see we've got background image, front image, and as we hover over any of these, we see exactly what's showing up on screen highlighted in this blue box. Or if it's the background image, it basically removes all the above layers just to show you distraction free to see exactly what's going on. So we can use this to our benefit. We can click on the background image and you can see over on the right hand side, we now have a lot of different options specific to the background image that we've got selected. At the top, you can see we can do things like the content, the style, size and position and so on. And for this, we're going to leave it where it is. But obviously, if you wanted to get in and tweak this, depending upon the type of slider that you're creating, then you could do exactly that. What we're interested in for this part is the image layer content. So you can see it says media library or object library. So we can pull in new content from our own media library that's part of WordPress, or we can use the object library, which is a part of royalty-free images that comes as part of Slider Revolution 6. But again, this is primarily for the full version, not necessarily for the version you may have shipped with a theme. So just bear that in mind. You're not going to have everything if you have that shipped with the theme version. So what we're going to do is we want to replace this background image with something of our own. So easy way to do things like that is to go and grab a royalty-free image or something you want to use from a stock library or something you've taken yourself, edit it, optimize it, and this is the most important thing, optimize it for the design that you're working with. Don't just upload a massive file, because then ultimately what you end up with is a slower loading slider because those files that are being used as part of it end up being massive, and it's not great for mobile users or people on slower connections. So bear that in mind whenever you're creating or editing any kind of slider inside Slider Revolution 6. So I've already downloaded an image from a stock library. I've done some effects to it, so I've made it blurred so it fits in with what we're trying to do here. And next thing I'm going to do is just upload that to our media library and then pull that in and replace the background image we currently have as part of this template. So what I need to do is make sure that I've got that particular layer selected, come to our media library, and we're going to choose this background image. So I'm going to insert that, and you'll see that now replaces it. So I can go through now and I can position this and I can do all the things that I need to do to make sure this looks exactly as I want it to. So what I need to do is come into the size and position, and we can click on there, and we now have a range of different options that allow us to position this exactly the way we want. We've got alignment, which allows us to do exactly that. So we can align the horizontal and the vertical, both to the sides and to the top and bottom. We can also come down and set any values for offsets on the X and Y axis. We can set the width and the height, and we can make sure that we constrain those. So if you want to change things, you can do that. However, what we're going to do is we're going to come at the size presets. We're going to click on there, and I'm going to say cover. Once I click on that, that now will fit inside the viewport. So we have this contained inside the space that we've got for this particular slider. If we come back over any of these other options, you can see everything now comes back into play. However, if I want to make sure this is positioned exactly the way I want, I'm going to click back on the background, and I'm going to specify that I want this at the bottom. So you can see now we see a little bit of the water line before we sort of see the building in the background, all nice and blurred, which gives us that parallax effect, gives us that depth of field that we want. So now when you come back over and we take a look, we've got everything in place. If we preview this, we'll see exactly what it looks like. So you can see now as we move things around, everything is positioned nicely. We can see the water in the background, which makes sense then to these little stack of stones that we have in our foreground. So that's how easy it is to change like the background, for example. So you can come back out of this, and now if we want to make changes to any other element, all we need to do is click on it. So let's just say we want to change the button. We can click on the button, and now you see on the right hand side all the elements inside there, all the options are specific to that button. So we can now make any changes we want on there. So we can change the text, the color, the size, the type of the button, the link to where it goes, and all those kinds of things you'd expect to need to do to make sure this does exactly what you want for your specific use case. So now if we switch over to the Contents tab and click on Content, you can see this gives us the information to do with the button. We can set icons in here, we can set the toggle state, the idle state, change the text, so we can just change this for more information, for example, and you see the button resizes accordingly. If we want to choose icons, we can choose icons from here, so we can click on anything we want. We can adjust then the position of that. We can do anything we want to make sure everything looks the way we expect it to. So let's just take that out of there. We don't want the icon in there, but you can drop one in should you want to. And the nice thing is these are free icons, so you don't need to worry about royalty or any kind of problems you may have there. So again, that's pretty cool. If we come down, then you see the display mode in column, the HTML tag, so we can do whatever we want. We convert the layer to text. We can also come in and style this. So if we want to change this from the text color, the text style, all those kinds of things, the background color. So let's just change that over to something like this ready kind of color. We'll set this to be semi-transparent so we can see the background through it, and we'll check on that. And you see that immediately changes that button. So it's very simple to do. We can also come in and do the size and position if we want. So again, we have all those options. We've also got options for how this behaves when it comes to responsive design. So you can see responsive behavior. So we want intelligent inheriting. We can reset all these values to make sure that they're pulled in from the desktop if we change anything and we just want to put it back to where it was. Or we can do things like resize between devices. We can enable that if we want to. So this will resize if it's being viewed on a tablet or a mobile, any kind of things like that. So it'll resize it automatically. And there's a lot of options inside here to make sure that it looks the way you want it to and it operates the way you want it to, no matter what device it's being used on. But this is where the benefit of using these predefined templates comes in. You can just super quick get in there, start editing, tweaking, and you can have something that looks great without really needing to know too much about the underlying ways that Slider Revolution 6 works. There's one other thing I want to draw your attention to before we take a look at some more examples. And that is when you come down to save any of these particular presets or these particular templates, and you've made changes and you've uploaded your images, and like I said, hopefully optimized everything. When you come with the save option, you'll see we now have an optimized file size setting. If we click to open that up, we can see all the different elements that make up each individual component of each of these sliders, and this works on both the templates and any slider that you create yourself. You can then see exactly how big they are, and you can go through and you can make sure that you can tweak and fine tune to get everything the way you want. So you can adjust the file size if you want to. So the background image, you can see it's saying there's an optimal size for this. We're going a little bit smaller in this example. It gives us the overall file size after optimization. Server-side compression, well, it's not applicable in this example. So you can go through and make sure you've got everything set up the way you need it to get optimal levels of compression and making sure that your slider isn't massive. Now, hopefully I will be taking a look at how you can optimize things in its own dedicated video. So keep an eye out for that, and by the time you watch this may be up online, so check out the playlist for Slider Revolution 6 on the channel. You may well find that I've already done this, and you can then take a look at it and see exactly how to get the most out of Slider Revolution 6 and this optimization range of options. So I'm going to say save changes on there, and we'll say we're finished, and we'll hit save just to make sure everything is in place. So we've now got this based upon this template that we've pulled in. So it's a great starting point, like I say, a quick and easy way of speeding up the whole process of creating your own sliders. Now, if you're new to Slider Revolution 6, you may think that all you can really do is create traditional looking sliders. They may have really cool effects like parallax effects and particles and so on, but there is a lot more in which we can create. So for example, if we come down to post based, and from there we can create a much more feature-rich way of displaying recent posts, specified posts, Flickr, Instagram, all those kinds of things by using Slider Revolution 6. So let's take a look at this example. I'm going to install this one. This is just basically a clean news post template. So you install that template, let it download all the files, and you can see that's now created it for us. So you click to open it up in our editor. And once we're inside there, we can then go through and choose exactly what we want to happen. So if you look on the left-hand side, you can see you've got placeholders for the content, placeholders for things like the title and so on. So this is effectively dynamic data that's being pulled in from a specific source. What we need to do is tell it what source we want to use. And then if we need to, we can fine-tune and tweak things to make sure it looks exactly as we want. Now at the moment, this is just basically using placeholder text, but if we come out to the content section, now if you don't see this under the module general options, just simply click on the large cog at the top, and then you can come down to the content option. Once you're inside there, you can see we can now tell it where we want to pull the content from. So at the moment, it's saying post based, so it's going to use the current post or specific posts, or you can set those details up underneath. We can also choose things like WooCommerce. We can choose from Flickr. So if you wanted to use this to display a range of different products, and you could have a different one of these templates at the top of each of the categories, then you could do just that kind of thing. You can choose WooCommerce, and then you can choose what you want to pull in. However, like I say, we're going to keep this based on post-based, and you can see that gives us context options underneath. So we're going to leave this set to post. So this will then pull in the 3 last posts that we've set up. Now 3 in this example because that's all I currently have. But you can configure and tweak this to get more settings on here, to get it laid out and set up to match your specifics. Okay, so even though you don't really see too much on here at the moment, if we click on the preview option, you'll see what this will do is this will open up and pre-populate now based upon that dynamic content being pulled from our posts. So on the left-hand side, we have the little thumbnail image for each of the posts that's being pulled in. We then have information over on the right-hand side based upon the categories, the title, the information then from the post itself, and we can continue reading. We can click to go to the next one, and we can click with the next one again. So we can keep on going through here until we find all the articles. And then you can just put this into your design. So you have something just a little bit more interactive and a nice way of displaying your post in a nice animated way with really no real effort to put this in. If you want to come in and customize any aspect on here, you can. So let's just say you wanted to change the color scheme. We can select this block over on the right-hand side if we want to. We can jump over to the style option and we could come in and say we wanted to set this to be a specific color. So let's go for this blue, set it to be semi-transparent. So we only have a little hint of that and click to OK it, hit save, and then click on preview. And we'll see that the changes we've made have now been reflected. Now, obviously, there's some other things you need to make sure that you change as well, like the color of the text, the titles, and so on. But you can see it's very easy to just select any of these elements and make whatever changes you want. But as I keep saying, it is just a simple way of grabbing a starting point that you can then fine-tune and tweak to do whatever you want with to get a great looking end result. So let's take a look at one final example. Let's take a look at something like a coming soon page or a countdown timer kind of thing. So we're going to come back out of this. I'm going to click on back. Once we've done that, we come back into the interface. And one of the things I like about this is it still keeps all the options open. We don't close all our left-hand navigation down when we're working inside the actual just selection area. So we can have that open if we want to jump back out at any time. So for me, it's one of those nice little design tweaks that makes the whole process a lot easier than having to jump back out of this plugin to go back to your dashboard and so on. So let's do one final one. Click on new module from template. I'm going to come down and we're going to say hero. I'm going to grab this one. So I'm going to click and we'll say it tells us we need to have the coming soon and maintenance add-on, which we don't currently have. So we can't install this. So we click on that. It'll take us over and tell us more about that particular plugin. Now, when we have this as part of the full version of Slider Revolution 6, we have access to all those options, those add-ons. So we can come out of this and we can go through and take a look at the add-on options. So if you want to add those in, jump down to add-ons. And you can see it tells us all the ones we have available and what's installed. So what we need to do is find that one that gives us access to the coming soon and maintenance. So we'll scroll until we find that, and there we go. We can click on it, install that add-on, let that download and install, and then we can now use that. So we'll activate it, and that's now enabled for us to work with. Let's hop back out of this and come back into our new module from template. And from there, we're going to choose our hero option again, and we'll grab this launching very soon. So we'll click the plus, tells us we meet all the criteria. We can now install this template. So we can click on install template, let that download the files, and there's our coming soon or launching soon. So we can click to edit that. If we come in, we'll take a look at everything that's set up. So you can see we've got everything all laid up nice and tidy inside here. And if we preview this, we'll see that we have everything set up So we need to configure things like the days, the hours, the seconds, and so on. We have this wicked animation at the top, so everything is set up. And again, this is just a really nice, simple launching kind of site. You can color tune this to make sure it fits in with the branding that you have, but it just saves you a lot of time having to mess about. So let's close that down, and we can come down and we can find out exactly where the options are to go through and change that countdown timer. Now, this is one of those areas, if you're using a template like this and you put it in and you may be thinking, well, how do I actually make the changes to the countdown timer? We've installed the add-on, we've got the template open, but nowhere on there can I see, other than when I mouse over, anything to do with the dates and the times and so on, all those kinds of countdown elements. Well, this is a little bit confusing if you're not used to what you're doing. We've enabled the add-on, we've pulled in a template that can potentially use that add-on. However, at this point in time, it's not using it. So what we need to do is come back out of here and then go back into the add-ons section. From there, we're going to find that coming soon and maintenance option. We're going to click on there and you'll see we have some configuration options. It says content from slider or page. We want to use a slider because that's where we're going to grab the content from for this particular design. Then it comes down and say the slider you want to use. So we're going to click on there and we want to use this launching very soon one. Now, obviously this would be different if you'd named it something different. Because I've just downloaded this as the plain template file, I haven't changed the name of it or anything else. So bear that in mind. So launching real soon, we can drop in a page title if we want to on there. And we can enable the timer. So once we click on that, we say enable it. It now gives us the timer settings. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the date on here to be, let's go through and say we want to have this to be the 1st of March, for example. So you can see then it says 14 hours, 40 minutes and so on. We can leave that as it is and we'll say save configuration. That's now saved that configuration and linked it through to our launching soon page. So now if we come back in to edit this, once we open that up and we take a look at the preview, this time we'll see those dates and times in there. So even though you don't necessarily see it inside the timeline on screen here, when we click on preview, we'll find that if we scroll down, there's our days, hours, minutes, and seconds counting down to that date that we wanted to work with. And also, and the time, so on. So we can close that down. So we've created that and set everything up inside there. So that's very, very simple and straightforward. But like I say, if you don't know how this works or you don't know where the information is to be able to set it, it can lead to some confusion. So bear that in mind. If you're using the add-ons, I'd recommend taking a look at the documentation that comes with it, and ThemePunch have great documentation of all the different features. Click on the link inside the add-on itself that'll take you through and explain how to use that specific add-on. It'll save you a lot of time and headaches in the future if you don't know what you're doing with it. So this barely scratched the surface of what you can do by using these templates. There are a ton of great templates to start off with, all giving you the opportunity to just either learn how to make up slides of your own based upon how these are configured and set up, or to start and use them as the basis for your own creations, just to save time, effort, and everything else that goes with it when you're creating something more complex than just a simple hero or placeholder slider. So hopefully you found that that's a really simple and straightforward way to take advantage of these great starting points for your designs. If you did, let me know in the comment section below. Did you find these templates a good starting point? Did you think that they could do with more? What kinds of things would you like to see in future versions of Slider Revolution 6? I'd love to get your feedback, so drop those in the comment section below. As always, all of the applicable links for this video are down in that description, so if you want to check out Slider Revolution 6 in more detail, then you can follow that link and take a look. As always, my name is Paul C, this is WP Tuts, and until next time, take care.